today I am actually joined by somebody else. Well, I have a co-host for today's Final Thoughts, Scoundrels of Skullport. Everybody say hello to Nathaniel Pollock.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, you didn't give them a chance to say hello. It's so rude. This kid, I don't know what's with them.
All right, I cut them off, but they'll be fine.
I know. What these millennials? I don't know. Nathaniel was actually one of my backers on Kickstarter, and people who back to a certain level can actually opt to join me for certain videos if they have anything particular to say about the game. We talked a bit about Scoundrels of Skullport. Nathaniel had recently gotten it, and I gotta say, I'm really happy to have him here because I certainly have some stuff to say about Scoundrels of Skullport. As a huge Waterdeep fan in the first place, but as is always the case, my experience is limited to just 2 players. And Nathaniel, on the other hand, has actually taken advantage of one of the core elements of this game. He has actually played it as a mighty 6-player game. So, I don't know, do you want to open, Nathaniel, or should I blather on and pontificate first? How do you want to do this? Oh, you've gone completely silent. Oh, you're back.
Yeah. I don't know. I think with 6 players, it was pretty good. I really enjoyed. I had a bit of an experience with both the long and the short game, so that's with playing with an extra meeple. So that makes the game longer. Right.
Well, actually, correct me if I'm wrong. If you want to play a 6-player game, you have to put the extra meeple in, right? If I recall correctly.
6 players, maybe you're right. For 6 players, you have to. So I also did it with 5 players, also mixing between the long and the short. You're right. Okay. For the 6-player game, you have to play with the long one.
Okay, yeah. Well, to back up, so you have played Lords of Waterdeep as well. I mean, so you played Vanilla Waterdeep. Just to gauge where you are, were you a Waterdeep fan to begin with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I very much enjoy the game. I think it has a lot of depth as far as, you know, what kind of paths you can take to victory. Yeah. So I definitely enjoy it without the expansion, for sure.
Okay, and well, you know, Jen, me too. I'm gonna blather. I can't wait. I can't stop myself. I just got to get this off my chest. Okay, so and then we'll come back to Nathaniel in a second, and we'll talk about his experiences. But Jen's and my experience playing as a 2-player game, it was actually really interesting. I think because you have the option of adding one or both of the modules, the Undermountain module or the Corruption one, the Skullport one, the actual name of it, and. You know, we threw them both in. I haven't tried with just one or the other. And actually, I think for the most part, the one we enjoyed the most was Skullport. Undermountain is very cool. You know, it really escalates everything. I mean, there's so much more. I mean, you're doing all these 40-point quests, and it's just everything taken to an 11. But I don't know that actually made the game structurally better. It didn't really change anything about the core gameplay. It made it maybe feel better because you had this incredible sense of accomplishment. But strictly speaking, in raw mathematical terms, it all comes out to about the same. You do about the same amount of work to get the same amount of points. But the interesting thing was, which I didn't expect, was Undermountain definitely, I haven't actually done a thorough count. Maybe you can tell me if I'm crazy, Nathaniel. It felt like Undermountain, it threw in a lot more mean cards, nasty cards. Hey, I'm just going to take all your stuff kind of cards, which there's always been a little bit of that in Waterdeep, but Undermountain felt like, to me, and am I crazy? Did you see that, or was it not quite?
Definitely. Undermountain for sure added a lot more attack ones. And it's not necessarily that it added, I don't know about the volume also. I know it doesn't have as many mandatory quests that you can give people.
Oh, okay.
But it's a lot harsher. You know, it's not like take 1 cube from their supply. You literally take like 2 warriors and 2 rogues from their supply and stuff. It's a lot more aggressive on the attacking. And I think they try to balance it out because, you know, with the other board that it gives you, there's a lot more options. You can get a lot more meeples. So they try to, you know, make it so it hurts less because you can do more. But since everybody is like really doing more, you know, 40-point quests that require, you know,
20
15 different meeples,
stuff,
20 dudes. So
I guess that's true. That is actually a fair point. I'll be honest, I hadn't really thought about that. That's why it's good to have conversations. But strictly speaking, it's just that the hits have increased in volume as well. But functionally, they haven't changed. You know, a hit of just losing 1 meep or 1 cube in the first game is really no worse than losing 3. It just feels worse, even though maybe it's not.
Yeah, your plan gets blown up a little bit more. You know, you kind of feel like you know what you're doing, and then somebody steals things, and you're like,
yeah.
or like
And,
the
you know,
ones
there's
that
oh, go on.
steals a building from you. That one,
Yes.
that one,
Yes.
I hate that
Yes.
card.
Particularly when you are the guy who needs to build buildings
Yep.
specifically, and oh well, we'll just take your building, thanks. How did you respond to? It's no surprise. I mean, people who watch my show know that Jen and I, when we were playing it the first time, the whole time we were like, "I'm so sorry, I have to do this. Oh my god, I don't want to do this, but I have to. Oh my god, I can't just leave the card. It took me time to get it. If I don't use it, I'm literally throwing my game away." So, I mean, we were like grimacing a lot, but we're freaks. I mean, I imagine you probably play with normal people. What was a normal person response to the increased, not actual aggression, but aggressive feel?
Actually, my play group is my family also. You know, it's all 5 of us. So my sister was visiting. She's off college. So six of us, all 6 of us were there. So we really do not like attacking games either.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think we're a little bit more okay with it than you. You know, we weren't like sitting there apologizing a million times. But it definitely wasn't something we enjoyed doing. Like, we'd look at the card and we'd be like, I just don't want to play this because it's mean.
Yeah, exactly. So. I mean, that's something I think people have to know going in. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of players out there who get off on the Schadenfreude, who actually, take pleasure in the suffering of others. I'm thinking of Undead Viking, and but I was really surprised by that because the base game really, with the exception of the mandatory quests, it was so. I mean, the overall feel of the game was much more live and let live. And if anything, most of the intrigue cards, hey, this is really great for me, but I have to help somebody else too. So I was really surprised by that, and I'm wondering if in the future if I'll throw the Undermountain stuff in when we play, because of course we don't need to. If you're going to play 6, you have to throw both in because you need enough places. But with 5 or less, you don't have to throw Undermountain in. And while it was very cool to get these Uber quests, I just don't know if it's worth it for the Uber pain.
Yeah, I wouldn't add it in for 5 players if we played it again.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's interesting. I found a kindred spirit of sorts. You remind me of a younger me, kind of, sort of.
That's a compliment.
Not if you knew the younger me, believe me. But anyway, so then the other half, I mean, the Skullport half, I thought was awesome. I mean, I loved everything about it. The new fundamental resource in the game, and the way the interaction works between players. That, hey, you know what? Hey, if you and me, if we're both corrupt, hey, nobody gets hurt, no harm, no foul. I mean, yeah, I loved how it kind of almost to a certain extent sort of mirrors kind of real world aesthetics, in that if the whole place goes bad, well then we all suffer equally, because well, of course I'm going to go bad if you're going bad, but it just takes one goody two shoes to not have very many corruption, and all of a sudden the rest of us all feel the pain that before we weren't feeling. And I think that works really, really nicely, and is a level of interaction that you don't normally see. I mean, again, the base game I thought had wonderful interaction with the whole, because I have actually gotten to play the base game with 3 or 4 players. I've never played it with 5, but I have played with 3 or 4, and I always loved getting an intrigue card where, okay, hey, you get 2 things and you have to give something to somebody else, and everybody around the table suddenly is your best friend. Give it to me. No, give it to me. No, you can't give it to him because he'll do this. You got to give it to me. I mean, I've always loved that in the base game. I thought it was one of the most brilliant elements. And Skullport adds just like an entirely different way for players to, well, not to directly interact, but to matter to each other. You really have to pay attention to what they're doing. And it's weird. I mean, I was kind of worried about, it's really dark. I mean, you are literally buying slaves. And, on some of these quests, sending them off to their death. It's really nasty stuff. But by the same token, on the flip side, though, I appreciate the fact that if I do engage in that kind of activity, it is very, potentially very harshly punished. I mean, you will lose. I mean, Jen on one game lost like 50 or 60 points at the end of the game for all of her corruption, and so there is actual, dare I say, real world consequences to partaking in unacceptable behavior that I think kind of. I'm not going to, this isn't a game that's, trying to teach after school special type lessons about human morality, but I like that there is an extra level to the game, which was in the original game just kind of a fun, silly fantasy thing. But now it feels like there's something to it. It almost feels like the game has something to say about the reality of power and corruption and all that. And I thought that was actually quite nice, and I found it enjoyable. How about you? What did you think of Skullport?
I really enjoyed Skullport also. I never played it with a very small group. I played it halfway through with 3 people, so I didn't get a full play experience. But I did play it with 5 and 6, obviously. And like you were saying, it does add a whole new element. It's another like thing to keep track of. It makes it a lot more strategic and complicated when you're trying to figure out what you're going to want to do. And you have to plan for it. One thing, though, is in a 6-player game, there's a lot more options to get rid of skulls because more buildings get put out, a lot more quests get seen, the thing gets swept way more often, a lot more people pick up quests. So, the quests that take 3 skulls from your board and place them back on the board, those come up more frequently. There's more opportunities to gain them. So most people end with a lot less skulls on their board if they plan properly. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Another thing with 5 players is, like I mentioned, I had this interaction where I played it the long game with 5 players and the short game with 5 players.
Okay.
With Skullport only, without Undermount.
Both times.
Yeah, both times. And one of the things about it is that when a long player game, there's not enough spaces on the board for everybody to go, and somebody has to get a skull. So everyone, if you go last and you go to the place where you have to reassign the inn, I think you have to play an intrigue card and you get to reassign your meeple after everybody's done.
The wharf, whatever,
Yeah, if you go there, you probably have to reassign to a Skullport place to give you corruption. So it's in the long game, it's a real factor for everyone. It's not even. I actually really enjoyed it.
You can't avoid it.
I really enjoyed it because it really set a different tone. It wasn't this is another element that you can move into if you want to enjoy the expansion. It literally forced everybody to look at all the quests and all the buildings and go, do I want to get the extra meeples this round? Or do I need to get rid of this skull? Because if I don't get rid of this skull, will I be able to next round or the round after? Because I'm getting -6 victory points for this. It's a big deal. So it really made everybody participate in the expansion rather than in the short game where there was plenty of spaces for everybody. So you could choose.
Actually, and again, that's a big difference. I mean, because actually one of the things I enjoyed about it as a 2-player game was that, you're not forced because you're right. I mean, the board is so wide open. Even if you take the extra meeple, you have plenty of options. And again, it's less to do with gameplay and more to do with feel and theme and tone. But I really liked the notion with the fewer players that you have the option to make literally a moral choice. You can take moral high ground. You can say, I am never going to do that. I am not going to engage in that. I can see how great it is. I can see how powerful it is. And you know what? It probably won't even hurt me that much because everybody else is already so corrupt. I mean, I'm almost a fool not to do it. But I'm going to stay the straight and narrow. I mean, I was a video game designer for years, and one of the games we did was Fable 2. I was a designer on that. And one of the things we wanted to do with it was we always tried to, we had all these morality choices where you can do the good thing or the bad thing. And what we always tried to set up was, you can do the good thing and the goodness is its own reward. Or you can do the bad thing and you'll get a lot of stuff. Because we often found, particularly from Fable 1, that for players, it was always the easy choice to say, hey, all things being equal, I'll just be a good person. I'll do the good thing. And it was never a really interesting choice then, these morality things, because people just erred towards goodness because it all came out in the wash. So with Fable 2, we put in the extra elements to say, no. If you don't do the bad thing, I mean, crime pays. You're passing up on a lot of stuff. And I mean, then it became much more, for people who would normally take the straight and narrow, now they suddenly have a tough choice to make because they know they're giving up a lot of cool loot. They're giving up a lot of cool opportunities. And just how devoted are they to being a good person? Can they be tempted away when it's not equally good to be good? And I mean, that was always one of my favorite things about Fable. And so no surprise, I actually kind of enjoyed it here. And so it sounds like, though, with the higher player counts, that kind of goes out the window. Everybody's in it. Everybody's a little dirty.
Yeah, in a short player, in a short game, 5 players, it's actually not so bad. Though I don't know, when we were playing, people tended to like to go there. I don't know. I wasn't even thinking about it morally. I guess you have a good point there. They did a very good job, by the way, making it so that if you take corruption, you're getting a really good deal, but it can come and bite you in the end
Exactly.
if you aren't careful.
Yep.
But I don't know. We tended to go there when we needed to, when we had a plan to get rid of the skulls. So.
So you would only do it if you knew you could cover your ass.
Right.
Well, quite
Definitely.
frankly,
if I could make amends
as well. Oh, okay, that's a nicer way to put it. Yes. Okay.
If I can make
We'll go with that.
If I can make amends, I'll do it.
It's a future lawyer there, folks. But that's cool. So, okay, so you have played 5 versus 6, and I mean, obviously it's going to make the game longer, but I mean, is it a problem? I mean, did you find, because that would be the biggest danger is with 6 players and having to, for 6 players, there's an extra worker everybody has to place. Did the game run into the risk of dragging too long? Or did you feel like, man, come on, let's get back around to me. This is taking a little bit too long. Or was it fine?
A little bit, though the turns tend to be pretty short in Lords of Waterdeep. It's just placing one meeple and collecting what you wanted.
Right.
Of course, we have some analysis paralysis in our family, so.
Oh dear, are you naming names?
No, I'm not going to name any names. I'm not going to call anybody out here, but there are people who sit there and go.
Insert uncomfortable silence. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even still, so you have a representative player group that would, so I'm going to assume it's your mom. I'm just going to assume, and so your mom takes too long. But even still, the extra time, it wasn't backbreaking. I mean, you didn't find yourself saying, "Come on, let's go," or.
Yeah. It's not actually my mom; it's my brother. But.
Oh yes. All right.
It's my brother, but no, I don't think it drug on too long. You did get to do quite a bit. You completed a lot of quests.
Yeah.
I don't know what the statistic is, but. When our group, if you hit like 15 quests, you did a ton.
Yeah.
So we definitely got close to that number a couple times. And I think once one of us did 15. I don't remember who, but that was a lot of quests. So it does go actually substantially longer. Like I'd add almost an hour to your playtime, I would think. Especially when adding both expansions. But I don't think it felt like it was dragging on. I didn't think it felt like it should have been shorter.
Okay,
so
cool.
I didn't have a problem.
Yeah. I think that's like the question people would have. So in closing, how is this going to work for you? I mean, I could say for us. I mean, I think anytime we play Waterdeep, even if we're introducing it to new people, I would probably leave Skullport in because I don't think Skullport adds too much complexity. But I mean, it adds so much fun factor. I would never want to be without it. And honestly, I don't think I would probably go back to Undermountain just again because we play with kids' gloves. I don't know. What's your feeling?
I agree with you. I would definitely add Skullport in. Even with new players, it's not that complicated. It adds more depth without being super complicated, and it's very fun to have to like get corruption and then worry about that and be like, did I really just do this? And am I gonna just lose because I, did this terrible thing?
Yeah.
Though.
Oh yes.
Though, I would add Undermountain if I felt like it was balanced. If we took out the attacking cards, because I really did enjoy the 40-point quests, because that's a huge amount of points, but it's like a big commitment.
Yeah.
You have to sit there. It takes a couple turns to get it. I did enjoy that element of Undermountain. So.
Well, let me ask you this: do you, as a group, I mean, a lot of people just take in the base game without the expansion. A lot of people just take the mandatory quests out. Because actually, my understanding is, I read somewhere that the mandatory quests as a game system were something that was added almost in the 11th hour. I mean, they came in very late, and the designers themselves said, "Hey, if you don't like them, just take them out. They don't hurt the balance to remove them." I mean, do you play the base game that way, or do you use mandatory quests much? Do you groan when you get one because, oh no, I have to use this? And if you do get one, do you say, well, I will wait until the perfect moment at the very end of the game, right when they're about to score? Or you say, well, I better do this now because I got to use it and I don't want to kill somebody.
I've never tried it without the mandatory quests. We've
Yeah.
played it a couple times, but I've never tried it without it. A lot of the time, it's I'll slam it on the last moment, but it never ended up happening because I'm scrambling to get all my stuff together at the end, and I don't want to waste time slamming a quest on somebody.
Yeah.
So I guess if it's balanced enough, removing those.
Yeah.
I'm always hesitant to personally remove stuff from game.
Me too. Yeah.
Because the designers designed it this way to balance, but
right.
If
well,
it's balanced by
to your point, you're making so much more stuff. There has to be a greater resource sink. You have to lose stuff more often as well. Although, I mean, strictly speaking, I mean, if you add both expansions, you put so many extra cards in the game. I mean, based on random shuffle, you could basically play a full game, have nothing but high-level quests, and no high-level intrigue cards ever show up because just a random shuffle.
Actually, if you add both expansions, you're supposed to remove.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I forgot about that. That's true. You're supposed to pull out a certain number of the base game.
Cards,
I totally forgot about that. That's a good point. Yes. See, folks, he's keeping me honest. This is why it's good to have co-hosts. All right. Well, cool. Well, that's it. I mean, do you have anything else you'd like to say in closing, or should we move on to the bye-byes?
I would not play Lords of Waterdeep without Skullport.
I completely agree. It's fantastic. It's a must-have. And not to cast aspersions on Undermount. It's very, very cool, and it's so satisfying to finish one of those quests. It's just a question of just how much blood are you looking to draw from your opponents. If you're comfortable with that, I mean, if I love that kind of stuff, I'd throw that in too, because there's nothing wrong with it, and they're very, very cool. Yeah,
I agree.
Okay. Well then, I'm gonna say, folks, then that's it. Thanks for watching. Questions, comments, concerns, as always, let me know. Otherwise, I am going to say a big, big thank you once again to my co-host, Nathaniel Pollock, for joining me and making some very good points. I think you really elevated the discussion above my normal nonstop ranting and blathering. And that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you later. So long. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.